Many of you, especially the ones that are beginning this, you're trying to do anything to get in and make money, but you're willing to ignore all sources of responsibility on yourself. But as a trader that is actively trying to pursue consistency and longevity, profitability, what you're trying to do while obtaining that as your goal, the way you get there is removing any excuse, any cause, any reason for you failing outside of your own model and your own experience. That's personal responsibility. And that's not taught in this industry. It's easy to be able to say, well, the markets are random. Well, they really shouldn't offer 15 contracts. If it really isn't good for us, they shouldn't really do that. There's always excuses that the ones that are not prepared to be responsible, to be sound stewards of the money that they have in their hands and the risk that they associate with it. I'm not going to use a stop loss because I have a point to prove. Well done, maximum loss drawdown margin call. You proved a point. Everybody knew it, but you confirmed it. That's scar tissue. Now that's going to motivate you to do stupider things because now you're embarrassed because everybody saw what we already knew. Might not be that grand of a scale of an embarrassment for you when you take your trade. It led you up to the charts. You're there. You got all the things figured out. And you impulsively predict and anticipate the setup forming, but you want to be ahead of it because you can't weather the impatience. It's agony. Oh man, what if it runs without me? I sat here all this time. I did all that charting. I already told people I was going to be buying long, and they're going to be asking me for proof. Where's the receipts? Where'd you go long at? And I ain't going to be able to have anything to show them. Oh my goodness, I don't care. I got to get in. There you go. There you go. You did everything wrong. I don't care if your analysis was good. I don't care if your lipstick on your chart was correct, if your draw on liquidity was correct, all that. Everything you just shot at the shit with this entry. Because now your risk isn't appropriate. It's got to be larger now. You entered in the direction of the profit, which we don't do. But ICT, I watch you pyramid. Yep. And when I'm buying when it's going down. Every time. Think. Everything that I do in my executions are systematic. I had to learn that through pain, loss, blowing accounts, losing lots of times. And every single time, guess what I had before it? Right before I lost the account, before I lost the trade, before I had remorse, I had motivation. I had confidence. But that confidence and that motivation was like that guy. You're standing there. You really don't want to fight this person. Not because you're afraid that they're going to kick your ass, but you don't want to fight that person. You really don't want to be like, it's not appropriate for you to be doing what you're being pushed into. And you have that circle of influence around you. Everybody's shouting, oh yeah, fight. When wisdom says, wait. You invited them to walk away, they won't. Well, in trading, at that moment, especially for young men, this is Sparta, bitch. I'm here now, and I don't need to wait for no setup. Front kick, boom. But you find out you're the one falling down. You're the one feeling that gut kick to the solar plexus, and you can't breathe now because you pushed the button. You can't take it back. You can't take it back. What does that mean? You know you shouldn't have entered there. Sound logic would be, all right, this is premature entry. Just close it right now and wait for the setup. But you won't. You won't. Because the thing that pushed you into that impulsively is telling you right now, Man, I hope it keeps going up from here. I hope it keeps going up here. Please don't drop. Please don't drop. Please don't drop. When it's so much less pain and suffering just to close the trade and then wait for that setup. You might have a little bit of drawdown and the commission costs that you spent. Okay. But you have preserved your mental capital. The money that you're spending and potentially losing on that trade is insignificant in terms of the amount of debt that you're going to carry mentally as a trader for the rest of your career by doing that silly shit. Think about it. How many times have you been in a trade where even if it went to the worst case scenario and ran all the way to wherever your stop would have been, notice I said that, but some of you aren't trading with a stop loss. What's the worst that's going to happen? That loss doesn't end you, but in your mind, you've lost a limb. You've lost your strong arm. How else could you ever go back into trading if you lose this trade? If I lose this trade, I can't imagine ever wanting to do this again. That's the equivalent of what you're doing. But where was the motivation that led you to that moment? Right when it came to the time where you push that button, it transforms into impulsiveness. That moment right before you take your trade, you have to really, really know what you're doing. You have to know exactly what you're doing, why you're doing it. And before you press the button to get into it, you have to know exactly where your static maximum risk is, and there must be a stop loss there. Because once you have that, see, you're trying to avoid that stop loss because you're afraid it's going to hit it. Whereas a professional-minded trader, they want to know what that is so that way they don't worry about it. This is what I'm willing to lose. If I'm wrong, okay, I'm willing to take that as a loss. But you want to trade with the maximum leverage. So it makes perfect sense for you to try to avoid everything ever getting. You'll never get stopped out. You'll never get stopped out if you never use a stop loss. You know what that is? Head and ass syndrome. Your head's too far up your ass and you can't see things properly. I'm sorry, I can't see it your perspective. I used to see it like that. I went through that same thing. But I pulled my own head out of my own ass and started looking at things correctly. And some of you are fighting me on this. No, you don't get it, ICT. I'm different. I'm going to be the exception. No, you're not. You're just going to do it worse. But you'll never talk about it. You're never going to tell anybody what you did. Well, that would probably be the best thing for you. It disarms you. It makes you human. It proves that we're fallible. We're not infallible. Some of you think I'm infallible as a trader. Sometimes I don't do it right. Sometimes it doesn't work out where I want it to go. Like there's many instances where I've told my son, so that, I would like to see it do this, do that. And there it is. And we sat together and he's like, hey, but Dad, it did this, and you entered there and it didn't do what you thought. So how would I know that experience? And some of you don't want to hear that answer. 30 years, folks, that's a long time to be looking at stuff that's doing the same stuff all the time. You get used to it. You know with confidence that that one trade that you're looking at right now, even if it fails, and the 3 after it fails, it doesn't change the efficacy of the model. It doesn't change you as the trader. It just means if you execute on them, you might have incurred loss. But are you allowing for and inviting those losing trades, those losses, to take you completely out of the model and completely away from trading and or having the ability to be solvent to trade? It's amazing how traders that get so worked up chasing other people's bullshit online, these things that people promote falsely, they don't have any evidence that they can do it. They don't talk about it before it happens. They don't use a model or an approach that is applicable or you can see being used in the executions. You don't even see their executions. They just tell you this is a trade I took. And they're using the buy and sell overlay thing on TradingView. That's not even an entry with a demo. That's just, here's a trade I took. I think I got in right on here. Listen to what they say. They tell on themselves, but they're selling mentorships. That's frustrating for somebody that knows what the fuck's going on and have taught, man, I don't know how many people, but I've taught a lot of people for free. And it's just, my My tolerance for it is gone. It's gone. And I don't try to influence all you in that respect. I mean, but if you're going to be trying to pay somebody for something, they better have the goods. They better be able to prove that they can do what they're claiming they can do, instead of talk about something on the left side of the chart. But you all fall victim to that stuff. This image-based stuff, materialistic stuff. And you resist sound logic, real money-making, money preservation insights. That I went through this stuff. I had to lose a lot of money to learn these lessons, and I'm trying to very much remove the necessity for you to go through that same stuff. And you don't want to listen. Like my own kids, they don't listen. You wonder why my own sons do the things that they do? The same reason why you ain't listening to me. Just because they have my DNA in them doesn't mean that they're gonna. Oh no, it's a symbiotic relationship. I'm ICT's offspring. It's whatever the main one says. All the ones like there's this relationship where whatever, it's a hive mentality. That doesn't happen because they're my kids. They're discovering themselves too, and they're discovering that they're human. And guess what humans are? We're terrible decision makers. That's a skill set that has to be honed and beaten to us. As the scripture says, iron sharpens iron. Meaning, it's not going to be easy. If iron had feelings and nerve endings, it probably would be wincing when you rub it against another piece of iron. When you take that raw piece of metal and you want to forge it into a blade, what do you have to do to it? You have to harm it. You have to do damage to it. You got to take its useless edges off and make one useful edge. That edge is your edge that you're going to use as a weapon or a tool. Knife, a blade. But many of you want to go out to the market and you do all this work in preparation, and you have this high-tech 50 caliber sniper rifle in your hands, and you show up and you're right there. You're sitting there, you're waiting for it. You're looking through your scope. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. And then all of a sudden the market starts to run. And what do? You reach for your fucking baseball bat and you chase it. What the hell is that? That's caveman mentality. That's not civilized. That's uncivilized. That's savagery. We're waiting for the mark to walk into the crosshairs, gently hug the trigger, and be confident that we have executed precisely what our model is expecting us to do. We will not second guess it because we've done everything up to the point of engagement and entry. Our stop loss is there. We don't worry about it because we're comfortable with the risk. But if I'm honest, ICT, that means I can only really risk $75. Right. Exactly. That's why you're trading with a fucking micro. Okay. That's why you're doing that. It's not about how much you can make. It's how much you can afford to lose and still stay in the game while you're learning.